Hi there, let's use the Wyckoff lens to analyze where is Hedera and where is heading. If you're new to my session, here are the 3 things that I'll cover in the session. So let's start with the weekly chart of Hedera. As of this moment, Hedera is still at a mid-late stage of a distribution cycle. So unlike a lot of other altcoins which has already entered accumulation cycle way back in the beginning of the year, Hedera seems like acting a little bit different. It has gone to a sign of weaknesses right above the long-term playground zone ceiling. So there is an argument. Let me remove this uptrend box, it's no longer relevant. Would that be a quick accumulation, which would be interesting because that LPSY was pretty high above the sign of weakness level. So that's why I did not consider that scenario. Alright, if that's a quick accumulation, that would be a new buying climax. So I don't see that's the case. I consider this an entire distribution that got reignited at June this year, just to get to where we are now. So if this is the case, that means we're about to see another sign of weakness. Just that it may not absolutely appear. Why I'm saying this is that if the price is really declining towards an accumulation cycle, after multiple LPSYs, there wouldn't be another rebound. I'm expecting a rebound because this is a very key level. That was set by the sign of strength back in 2024, from March all the way till almost June time. That level that should provide some pretty good support, especially, the other 2 sign of weaknesses back in this year were also around those levels. Alright, I think I have to adjust this box a little because that should be encapsulating 70-80% of the time where Hedera has been trading within. So it should be a little bit higher, closer to the orange key level of 21 cents. Okay, I will do this after the session. For now, if it continues with this downtrend to come to this runway, this playground zone looks like a runway now, isn't it? With this dashed line in the middle. So eventually, it will land into the accumulation cycle. So last time, it lasted from middle of 2022, right after April, or started in April, the final decline, and finishes November. So this actually demonstrates what I meant by no more sign of weakness showing up. Look at this leg after this LPSY that started April 4th. All the way only red candles exist until this point where the silent climax was about to appear. There was a little bit of small rebound. Okay? That's what I was talking about. If this is really the last LPSY, there won't be any rebound at this point, and it will go all the way until the point where there's sufficient support to show a selling climax. Alright, we are probably not there yet. If we look at the daily chart, we're seeing why. This downtrend that started July is still continuing. And just 4 days ago, it confirmed the level set by the selling climax and subsequent tests during October all the way through last week has been broken on Friday. This support has been key for almost actually over a month. So that means this indication set by October 10th is still in effect. And this spring has not confirmed yet. Where it is at. It has confirmed that it is a spring. So it's the percentage is 100%, so it's not relevant. What we don't know now is whether it will end above this white line. So this white line, I already mentioned, is the current ceiling of the long-term playground zone. We can take references from all the previous stages. This was the PSY for the climax back in 2024, and then these peaks as well. So it's a pretty strong level, and now is approaching to land to that area and test it. Okay, if the spring really ends here, that's a good sign, because that's probably getting very close to the end of accumulation. And one confirmation we can get is by observing this downtrend. If it eventually finds support above this white line over here, this white solid line, and started to trade sideways, okay, assume it trades between the red key level of 17 cents 50 and this white line of around 13 cents, and eventually it will get trapped into this triangle. And by mid-February, where currently it is pointing at, obviously it can break earlier. If it climbs above this white dashed line or the red line, there are two other triangles. One pointing to somewhere right before Christmas, and the other at the very first week of 2026. If that happens, those three occasions are the best locations that the breakout would happen. Not saying it's happening exactly at the point where the two lines crosses. It can happen earlier. I'm just referring to the triangle. Those periods are the best instances for the breakout to show up. So at this point in time, while the volume has been declining, it's another good sign. So it's not dropping crazily with high volume. So hopefully with a horizontal trading period, we are edging closer and closer to a potential breakout of the downtrend. Okay, that's a positive scenario. However, if we look back to the chart, if it doesn't stop here, if the selling climax doesn't appear at this level, if it goes further down, that means there will be a couple of more weeks that we have to wait. Alright, if it ends at the center line, if we go to the daily chart, has to be populated to that level. Okay, and then now we should be able to see. Okay, that's where it is, and it's pointing towards April next year when the box crosses this line. Okay, I hope we don't have to wait for that long, but because, like I said in the very beginning, Hedera is going through a time that seems like it's lagging behind some of the altcoins. Or maybe it has its reason. Maybe it has its buy-in from the community or investor or speculators, and that it may not fully retrace to the accumulation. And that's a very positive scenario if that happens. So what it means is that once it hits or gets close to the white line, it rebounds and gets back to another test. That's why I have this ST with 30% over here, meaning it may come back to challenge the 33 cents light blue level. Alright, so it escapes an accumulation cycle completely and go back to this point. And notice that there's no upthrust or upthrust after distribution happened for Hedera. So there's still a chance, even in Wyckoff method, or two chances, that it set higher peaks than the climax back in December 2024. Alright, so that's the interesting part about Hedera.